I have a confession to make, and this is not easy to say, but I am a weeb. I'm so obsessed with Japanese culture to the point that I own not one, not two, but 3 Great Wave related items, and I've watched so much anime to the point where I can somewhat speak Japanese. Konnichiwa, what's up, minasan? Okay, that was a bit embarrassing. Surprisingly enough, there hasn't been a single video about anime on my channel yet. What a disgrace, am I right? But allow me to redeem myself because the time has finally come. Lately, I've been into a bunch of Shinto-based anime. Even if you haven't heard about Shintoism before, you will definitely have seen references to it through watching even a little bit of anime. I mean, how many times have you seen the classic New Year's shrine visit scene, which I swear happens in like every high school slice of life anime? This is actually a common Shinto practice in Japan which millions of people take part in, called Hatsumode. But what exactly is Shintoism anyway? To put it simply, it's the belief and worship of kami, which, broadly speaking, can be thought of as spiritual manifestations of elements from nature or human life, and it is the major and indigenous religion of Japan. Just about everything has a kami associated to it. The sun? Sure, there's a kami for that. Amaterasu Omikami. The moon? Sure, Tsukuyomi no Mikoto. A god of hair you can pray to cure baldness? Sure, that exists too. Have a household item that's turned 100 years old? Oops, well, too bad, it's a Tsukumogami now. You get the point. There's basically an endless list of kami. As such, there's really no central authority in control of Shinto, no central text like the Bible to guide religious practices, and you can basically do whatever you want as long as you're being respectful. You want to worship just one kami? Go ahead. You want to worship all of them? Go ahead. You want to use a pizza slice as an offering? Go ahead. It's still considered as practicing Shintoism. It is due in part thanks to this flexibility of worship practices that Shintoism flourished across Japan and easily embedded itself permanently into daily life and culture. Even in today's modern age, it is still a major part of Japan, with a whopping 70% of its population practicing in Shinto-related practices and around 100,000 Shinto shrines all across the country. It is also abundantly represented in Japanese media, including anime. Right now even, there's a show airing called Ayaka. The anime introduces these tiny blue floating blobs called mitama, which can get corrupted and turn into an aramitama, a violent form of a mitama that needs to be pacified. This is a totally original idea and is most definitely not a blatant reference to the Shinto concept that coincidentally just so happens to go by the same name. Going back just one season, we also have the show Hell's Paradise. The world building most definitely does not have religious undertones. This monster just happens to be holding a praying bead, and this statue just coincidentally looks like the Buddha. I suppose that's today's sarcasm quota fulfilled. Well then, where were we? What I like about Shinto-based anime? Well, what I like about these kinds of shows is that if you're anything like me and prone to go down rabbit holes, then boy are you in for an educational ride. Pause the episode every 5 minutes. Hang on, is that a real kami that they're referencing? Quick Google search, rinse, repeat. By the time it was over, I came out a Shinto expert. But what now? I've spent countless hours and I have all this information, but what now, goddammit? Oh, that's right. I'm talking about it right now and spending even more countless hours on the video that 10 people will watch. That's right. It won't be for nothing. I spend my time wisely. I'm not wasting my life, right? Right? I find it quite fun being able to recognize parallels and similarities among very different animes and seeing Shintoism as the common linking point. There emerges a frequent pattern of what I'll call Shinto tropes, a representation of a Shinto-inspired idea that is a common feature between these animes. I will discuss these tropes within the context of 3 different anime: Fukigen na Mononoke-an, Kami-sama Kiss, and Noragami. All of which, by the way, are 10 out of 10 shows. Put them on your watch list. And, well, spoilers up ahead, of course. Nothing major, but if that worries you, go watch the shows beforehand. First is the idea of impurity, which is known as kegare or tsumi in Shintoism. Kegare is generally used to refer to naturally arising impurity. This includes death, sickness, disaster, and etc., whereas tsumi refers to impurity resulting from antisocial human actions or unhealthily pent-up emotions. Regardless of the source, impurity and corruption attaches onto people and environments and can spread and cause misfortune. Measures can be taken against impurity through rituals like harae or misogi, which typically involve exposure to sacred water. In Kami-sama Kiss, Kegare, or shoki as it is known in the anime, is depicted as having an environmental consequence. Trees lose their leaves, the air becomes tainted, and structures run down. The source of Kegare seems to come from the presence of evil spirits and monsters. The anime also depicts ritual purification of Kegare. Mizuki's sake has purification properties and can be thrown into areas affected by Kegare to counteract the impurity. Nanami can use her talisman to do the same. One can also purify Kegare by dealing with the source itself. In this case, Nanami does so with a Kagura dance, which in the real world is meant to purify and calm down a spirit or a kami. In Noragami, Yukine undergoes a rebellious phase, behaving antisocially and even going so far as to steal a skateboard. Consistent with the Shinto idea of tsumi, Yukine starts to undergo corruption. Again, consistent with Shinto practices, corruption can be fixed with exposure to sacred water. However, for extreme cases, a ritual akin to an intervention needs to be performed, where the subject is trapped and forced to admit their sins, ask for forgiveness, and to promise not doing them again. In Fukigen no Mononoke-an, Kegare arises from a distressed or dangerous yokai. It manifests itself in the environment, often creating a foggy and eerie atmosphere. In less extreme cases, a yokai will simply just increase in size to signal their distress. The solution is to simply calm the yokai down, and in this anime, it doesn't happen via a ritual or anything like that, but simply by communicating with the yokai, acting chill and just letting it know that you're not a threat. Speaking of yokai, well, what is a yokai and how does it relate to Shintoism? This is rather hard to define as there are various different interpretations, but probably the most accurate take is the one by Japanese cultural anthropologist Kazuhiko Komatsu. Yokai are unworshipped kami, and kami are worshipped yokai. The anime also agrees with this take.
井ノ原竹勇士たちの沖縄神と申す。
神って神様？
ははは、人間が大層な名をつけただけのただの老いた妖怪さ。沖縄とでも呼んでくれ。
As you can see, although the anime depiction of Kegare does not entirely match that of the real world, some inspiration is clearly drawn from this Shinto concept. I want to talk about shrines next, which is a surprisingly complicated topic. Shrines are places which house a particular kami, and is hence a place of worship for that kami. It is also the place where festivities and other cultural events usually take place. All simple so far, right? Now, for the hard part. Shinto, shrine, etymology is a bitch to learn. The name of a shrine is built of two parts, the meisho and the shogo. The meisho can be anywhere from the name of the kami that the shrine is housing or simply the name of the city in which the shrine is located at, and the shogo acts as a suffix of which there is a plethora to choose from. We got jinja, yashiro, mori, hokura, jingu, miya, myojin, gu, taisha, gongen, and so on. For example, this shrine located in the city of Ise is called the Ise Jingu, and this one in Izumo is called the Izumo Taisha. You can also use the suffix on its own to talk about shrines in general without referring to a particular shrine. However, all of these suffixes, and this is very important, they're non-equivalent in terms of their usage, which means that you can't just randomly interchange them. So, let's discuss the differences. We'll start with jinja, which is the most general suffix for a shrine, so you can probably get away with referring to most shrines as a jinja. It is made up of two kanjis, kami, which you're all familiar with, and sha, which means society, as in the word shakai. Strip the kami away and you get another valid shrine suffix, which you can keep calling sha, or you can use the alternative reading yashiro. This suffix is used to refer to minor shrines that have received the kami from a major shrine through a process known as bunrei, which is the splitting of the kami's soul in order to impart divine presence to a different location. This kanji is made up of two radicals, shimisuhen, which has religious connotations, and suchi, meaning soil or earth. Replace the shimesuhen with the similar looking radical kihen, which stands for wood or trees, and you get mori, another shrine suffix. And yes, this is the same mori, which means forest. What we have here is simply a rarer form of the kanji. As you can easily guess, this shrine suffix is more nature associated. In fact, there needn't be a physical shrine structure. It's just used to refer to a part of a natural environment where a kami is believed to reside in. The earliest shrines were probably just mori shrines, sacred forests where villagers believed the spirit to reside. Now we bring back kami and replace mori with this other kanji meaning storage. Then you get hokura, a suffix used to denote small shrines that you'd often find at remote places. If we replace it again with miya, a kanji with royalty connotations, then you get jingu, a suffix used for a shrine of high level status that is strongly affiliated with the Japanese imperial family. For example, Ise Jingu requires that the high priestess must come from the imperial family of Japan. The role is currently held by Sayako Kuroda, the only daughter of former emperor Akihito. Getting rid of the kami kanji yields just miya, or with the alternative reading gu, whose suffix usage is similar to jingu, but it indicates a shrine of lesser level status than a jingu shrine. Now let's bring back sha, and to the front of it, add this kanji that means big. We get taisha, a suffix used for these so-called headquarter shrines. For example, the Sumiyoshi Taisha is a shrine that houses kami related to sailing. There are, of course, many other shrines across the country that worships the same kami, but because of the Taisha suffix, we know that the Sumiyoshi Taisha is the most important among this group of shrines. What's interesting is that anime does reflect the complexities in shrine nomenclature, and they do make use of the different suffixes.
いっぱい貯めて大きなお社建てるんだ。
この家とは違って境内や祠は神域だ。
古い神社なんだけど、何か出るって噂があるんだって。
御影社です。お祭りをやるので来てください。
Now, of course, there are many more suffixes that I have not covered yet, but may God help me. I spent my entire weekend translating Japanese websites to get this information, and now I want my time back. The idea of alternate planes of existence is present in almost every culture. Shinto is no different. There is Utsushio, the real world, and there is Tokoyo, or sometimes known as Kakuryo. It is mostly depicted as some other world, a concealed realm where spirits reside, sort of like a transparent layer in Photoshop. Then there is Takamagahara, which is a heavenly place where gods congregate, and Yomi, the underworld or land of the dead. Although there are some theories which claim that Takamagahara and Yomi are actual physical locations on Earth and not separate planes of existence. In Noragami, the concept of Higan and Shigan are introduced.
彼岸の声が聞こえるのか?
These are Buddhist terms which refer to Tokoyo and Utsushio respectively. Although it's technically from a different religion, you'll find that there is a significant overlap between Shintoism and Buddhism, and this is especially true in Japan. Noragami also has pretty accurate depictions of Takamagahara and Yomi. In Kami-sama Kiss, yokai and spirits are visible to everyone. Still, there are some places like Mount Kurama which seem to be part of a concealed realm.
人間界の鞍馬山が表とすれば、天狗の住む山は裏鞍馬。
その入り口が総城ガダニだ。
マイナスイオン。心せよ土地神。この杉の木の股が裏への入り口。この先より
Mount Kurama, by the way, is an actual place in Japan just north of Kyoto. There's also a depiction of Takamagahara, which, according to the anime, is located in Izumo, home of Izumo Taisha, arguably the most important Shinto shrine. And of course there is Yomi as well. In Fukigena Mononoke-an, Kakuryo is not depicted as this hidden layer of existence, but rather a separate place completely. Abeno can summon a door/portal to this realm, and he transports yokai from the real world back to Kakuryo for their own well-being.
もののけ庵主安倍の春樹閣僚の扉をお頼み申す。
There is, however, no depiction of Takamagahara or Yomi. Now, I could keep going on listing parallels and making connections, but I'm sure you get the point already, and I'm not the type of person to make a 7-hour video essay on this topic. In fact, I'm so tired of research and editing that I'm just gonna abruptly end this